Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Honorable Congressmen from the 17th Congress, Jerty, Kiel Justine, and the other members of the family of Rodel, classmates, friends, and relatives, good morning. Rodel, or Batux, or Bats as we fondly call him, was like a brother to me. I've known him since the undergrad days at UP at the School of Economics. In 1986, we both entered the UP College of Law and belonged to the same section, Section C. And it was during the law school days from 1986 to 1990 where our friendship was fortified. Si Rodel was a very funny person from the way he walked, he talked. Rodel just had the knack of making people laugh and smile. Rodel found humor in everything. Even in the worst situation, you will find yourself embroiled in. He had a way of making you laugh at the situation. Thus, anxiety or even anger ended up in laughter with Rodel around. Even his own boo-boos, Rodel would just make a joke out of it. While I saw in Rodel his determination and perseverance to succeed in life, he took the vicissitudes of life in stride. His disposition never changed. The smile, the gait, the laughter. Rodel always had this cheerful and sunny disposition that was so infectious that everyone around him would not resist to laugh and smile with him. Even a non-laughable event would turn out funny with Rodel around. I recall this occasion where Rodel and I were inside the car of our classmate Joel Bretanya, and Joel Bretanya mentioned that there was a new brand of brief or underwear. The brand was Sunjoy. Rodel found the name so amusing that he kept repeating, Sunjoy, but he changed the pronunciation to make it sound like it was made in France. So instead of saying Sunjoy, he was saying Sunjoy, Sunjoy, Sunjoy. And what made it funnier, while he was saying Sunjoy, he was moving his head from left to right. All throughout the car ride, all throughout the night, and even the following day, Rodel kept on saying, Sunjoy, Sunjoy. Oh, nakabili ka na ba ng Sunjoy mo? Oh, suot mo na ba yung Sunjoy mo? So that became a long-time joke among the three of us. Now, even in heated moments, Rodel around, such heated moment would always turn into a comedy scene, like watching the movie of Dolphy. As an example, this happened when we were still in law school. Rodel and another classmate of ours, Val Ortega, challenged each other to a fight. Val Ortega was our gentle giant. He looked like a bully, curly hair, chinky eyes, but he was so nice and funny as well. Now, Val Ortega invited Rodel and some of the guys for a couple of beers. So they bought beer at a nearby sari-sari store. Now, Rodel would ask Val Ortega for 25 centavos. Rodel said, Val, meron nga ng 25 centimos? Bakit? Sabi ni Val. Bibili ako ng isang stick ng sigarilyo. Somehow, this provoked Val and got mad at Rodel and said, ako na nga nagpapainom sa'yo, pati ba naman pag sigarilyo mo, ako pa rin sasagot? To make it short, nag-away ang dalawa at naghamunan. So they proceeded to sunken garden. So the fight, as one would imagine, would be something like a Manny Pacquiao or even versus Mayweather. But it was not so. The two ended up nagpagulong-gulong lang sa sunken garden for I think 30 minutes to 1 hour. Puro gulong, puro gulong. Una, naghabulan. Then nagpagulong-gulong. Then somehow a policeman, UP policeman, chanced upon them and asked them, anong ginagawa nyo? To which they said, nagsusuntukan po. The UP policeman found the suntukan probably weird with what he saw na puro pagulong-gulong lang. So he just told them to stop and left the scene. Eventually, Rodel and Val would stop their pagulong-gulong as one of them would say, tama na, pagod na ako. Because of the extreme tiredness of the two of them, they just decided to consume the beer that they bought, and whatever disagreement they initially had, seemingly had been long forgotten. In short, yung away ay nauwi sa masayang inuman at hindi yung inuman nauwi sa away. That story has become a classic among us classmates. Well, Rodel also had some childish mischievousness in him. During our class in Roman law, we were always chattering inside the classroom and made jokes about our classmates sitting in front of us. Rodel would initiate and I would follow suit. We would poke the back of our classmate while he was reciting, and our classmate would thrust his hip forward every time we poke his back. As a result, it disrupted his recitation. For example, he was reciting Duralex sed lex, and at the time he was reciting, we would poke his back and he would say Duralex sed lex. So it was so funny that we could not stop laughing. Our law class remained very, very close and solid until now. In law school, we usually had weekly parties. When we became lawyers, we still had regular get-togethers. Ever since our law school days, Rodel was always the life of the party. He would be the one to deliver the jokes. He would chronicle the boo-boos we made inside and outside the classroom, including those he himself made. And it will be made part of the jokes during our class parties. These stories would be repeated and repeated by Rodel, but on each occasion, we ended up laughing as if it was the first time we had heard the story. As aptly observed by one of our classmates, Bodhi, Rodel had a way of delivering a joke or story, no matter how many times a joke or story had been told during our class parties. Rodel had a way of delivering it that it would still elicit laughter from all of us. Another classmate of ours, Harry Roque, would put it, if Rodel had not been a lawyer and a congressman, he would have been a comedian giving our local comedians a run for their money. Of course, there's another classic story involving Rodel. This was when he passed the bar exams. We organized a party for Rodel. To recall, we fondly addressed Rodel as Batuks or Bats. At the beginning of the party, having just consumed a bottle or two, we were calling or teasing Rodel, "Attorney! Attorney!" And then Rodel would look at us, "Huh? Ako ba yan?" Moving his head left to right again. The teasing would continue for about 2 hours. We'd tease Rodel, "Attorney! Attorney!" Then he would look at us, "Huh? Ako ba yan?" And then, as the night progressed, the teasing had stopped, and after, of course, consuming more bottles of beer, we began to address Rodel as Batuks or Bats once again. And one of us called Rodel, "Hoy, Batuks!" And the reply of Rodel was classic. With finger pointing at himself, he would say, "Stop that gutter language! Call me attorney!" So that brought the house down. Rodel, as my wife Diane observed, could not care less about the lofty positions in government some of our classmates would occupy. And this is another classic Rodel story. During one of our class parties attended by our classmate who had been appointed as assistant secretary, as we no longer had ice on the table, Rodel would call out our assistant secretary classmate, "Hoy, walang asek-asek dito. Kumuha ka ng ice dyan sa cooler." And that asek classmate, of course, complied, got ice from the cooler, and put it on our table without any complaint. Even an unpleasant story involving himself, Rodel had a way of narrating it with a touch of humor, unintended or not. If you would recollect, Rodel suffered a heart attack years ago. I never knew about it until he went to the house and recounted to me that he had a heart attack, that he had angioplasty, that he was having multiple heart attacks while he was undergoing angioplasty. Of course, I was shocked, but that was until Rodel told me his initial reaction when he learned that he was having a heart attack, and that made us both laugh. Rodel would tell me that the first thing that came to his mind while he was having a heart attack was, dapat si John Reyes to, mas mabisyo sa akin yun eh. Yes, he was referring to me. And I told him na heart attack ka na. Yung pa ba naiisip mo? That story would show Rodel, how Rodel had a way of injecting humor out of his own adversity. Typical Rodel. But behind the smile was a determined Rodel, a brilliant student, a brilliant lawyer, a brilliant lawmaker, and more importantly, a good husband and a good father to his two sons, with Justin, now a lawyer and poised to become a congressman himself. Rodel made it a point to treat his entire family to trips abroad on a regular basis. Rodel made a mark early in his life as a brilliant student when he graduated as the best law intern of the College of Law, succeeding another classmate. Harry Roque was the best law intern the previous year. In 2017, the UP awarded Rodel as one of the recipients of the most distinguished alumni for public service and good governance. As early as our law student days, Rodel had shown his innate skills as a politician. While he did not run in any position in the Law Student Council, he was the spokesperson of the political party we created. Back then, over dinner, we noted that the UP Law Student Council election was creating divisiveness among the students. The two contending political parties mimicked those warring political parties on national level wherein friendship were strained. We therefore decided to make a political satire about it, and we created our own political party which promoted non-antagonistic means to campaign. We called our party New Sons, but spelled differently, NEWSONS. And our logo was the bottle of beer. The group was composed of myself, Rodel, Harry Roque, Joel Bretanya, Bodie Miranda, Val Ortega, and Joel Butuyan, and we had silent supporters actually. During each campaign, we went to each classroom and sang the song of Sampaguita, which was like this, pardon my voice. Kaya join na lang kayo, let's all have a good time, while we were dancing and mimicking the dance steps in the musical A Chorus Line. All political parties had their respective programs of government displayed in the law library. Not to be outdone, we had our own. All pages were in blank, and on top of the first page was written, "We believe in the democratic way. Your suggestions are welcome." Somehow, we became popular and we almost won. And because of what we did, we were featured on national television in the show The Probe Team. And it was Rodel who was our spokesperson who explained on national television the purpose why the party was created. In all the aforesaid exercises, Rodel demonstrated his political savviness and his campaign skills. More importantly, he exhibited his moving desire to create a change in a system marred by political animosities. At that time, he already had the desire that a political exercise should be as it is, a mere political exercise without hatred among those contending for the position. This he exhibited when he ran for Congress and when he ran for the mayor in Daraga, Albay. Rodel had no enemies. He was the type of person who was everyone's friend because he was good-natured and fun to be with. It is therefore extremely devastating for us, his classmates, and I'm sure all of you who knew Rodel to have learned that Rodel, a non-violent and fun-loving individual, would be murdered with extreme prejudice. But one thing I must say, for all his achievements in life, and even after he had become a congressman for 3 terms, Rodel never changed. He remained humble. My wife, Diane, would always tell Rodel how she appreciated that Rodel never changed. And Rodel would always answer this way, "Tong posisyon ko temporary lang, hindi dapat magyabang. Baka bukas wala na ako sa posisyon." Rodel had always remained grounded from our law school days and even when he became a congressman. For instance, during our law school days, I would hear Rodel sing, "Black is black, I want my baby back." Moving forward, last year at the party held at our residence, a song was playing. I don't know if you're familiar with it. "You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys." Rodel asked my wife and the other guests, sinong kumanta at nagpasikat niya na local artist dito? No one among the guests was able to answer it. I then asked Rodel, kinanta yan sa GMA Super Show, di ba? That was the Sunday noontime show of the late Herman Moreno in the 1980s. To which Rodel replied, "Oo, yun nga." Of course, since both Rodel and I appeared to be followers of Herman Moreno's GMA Super Show, I proudly answered, "Si Jackie Lublanco." "Tama, si Jackie Lublanco nga," sabi ni Rodel. That anecdote would exemplify that notwithstanding the position Rodel occupied, he had remained humbled and remained Rodel we knew way back in law school. Throughout the years, Rodel was a friend I had relied upon. He was always there for me, not only for the good times, but at the worst moments in my life. For instance, there was a time frustration was mounting. He was there to give me advice. He imparted to me the principles in life he followed to survive the storms of life. My daughter, Bianca, died in 2015. This was the worst moment in my life. And when my daughter was about to be buried, I remembered Rodel together with another classmates. They tended to the needs of those people who attended the burial. That will forever be imprinted in my mind. After my daughter was buried, Rodel never missed a week without visiting us at our home at kakamustahin kami ni Diane, my wife. That was so touching. Through the years, Rodel would always drop by the house without notice, and we would talk about so many things until midnight. Just before December of last year, Rodel dropped by the house and we went to Harry Roque's house, who is my neighbor. We brought our own bottle of wine and had a few drinks and finished all the lechon and the lasagna served to us by Harry. And thereafter, we went back to my residence, had a few more drinks, and laughter until midnight. I did not realize that that was the last time I would see Rodel. It would seem that it was his last farewell. Rodel, the parties will never be the same without you. Our class will never be the same without you. We will miss you, Rodel. But magkasama na kayo ng anak ko. In due time, I know I will see both of you again. But for now, I bid you goodbye, my friend. Thank you.